There comes a moment in life when the noise becomes too loud, too many opinions, too many expectations, too many voices telling you who you should be, what you should do, and how fast you should get there. And in the middle of all that noise, you start losing the sound of your own voice. Most people are afraid of being alone. They think solitude means loneliness. They think if they walk away from the crowd, they will fall behind. So they stay busy, they stay distracted, they stay surrounded, not because it makes them stronger, but because silence makes them uncomfortable. But what if solitude isn't punishment? What if being alone is not where you break, but where you rebuild? What happens when you choose to step away, to sit in the quiet, to face yourself without distractions? Something powerful happens, something most people will never experience because most people never stay alone long enough to discover it. Today, I want to talk about what really happens when you choose solitude and why being alone might be the most important decision you ever make. Most people don't realize how loud the world really is until they finally step away from it. Every day you wake up to voices telling you what matters, what success looks like, how fast you should move, how far you should be by now. Social media, friends, family, strangers, expectations from every direction. And little by little, without even noticing it, your own voice starts getting quieter. Not because you don't have one, but because you never give it the chance to speak. That's why solitude feels uncomfortable at first. When the noise disappears, there is nothing left to hide behind. No distractions, no conversations to fill the silence, no crowd to blend into, just you and your thoughts. And for many people, that moment feels scary because they realize they don't actually know what they want. They only know what they were told to want. When you choose solitude, you remove the influence of everyone else, and suddenly you start asking questions you avoided for years. Am I really happy with the life I'm living? Am I chasing this goal because I believe in it or because everyone else expects me to? Am I proud of the person I am when nobody is watching? These questions don't show up when life is loud. They show up when life gets quiet. History shows this again and again. Some of the greatest breakthroughs didn't happen in crowds. They happened in isolation. When Isaac Newton was forced to leave university during the plague, he spent long periods alone, and during that time, he developed ideas that changed science forever. He didn't find those ideas in a busy room. He found them in silence, because when you're alone, your mind goes deeper. You start thinking for yourself instead of repeating what everyone else already believes. And it's not just scientists or inventors. Athletes talk about this too. They say the real work happens when nobody is there. Early mornings, late nights, empty gyms, empty fields, no applause, no cheering, no one telling them to keep going. Just them and the voice inside their head asking one simple question. Are you going to stop? Or are you going to keep moving? In those moments, you learn who you really are, not the version people see, the real version. Solitude forces honesty. You can't lie to yourself when there's no one else around. You see your habits clearly. You see your excuses clearly. You see the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And that truth can hurt, but that pain is not there to break you. That pain is there to wake you up, because the moment you see yourself clearly is the moment you finally have the power to change. When you spend time alone, you also start realizing how much of your life was controlled by the need for approval. How many times you stayed quiet when you wanted to speak. How many times you followed the crowd when you knew it wasn't your path. How many times you doubted yourself just because nobody else believed in you. In solitude, that pressure disappears. There's no one to impress, no one to compete with, no one to compare yourself to. And without that pressure, something powerful happens. You start thinking freely. You start dreaming freely. You start becoming yourself without asking for permission. At first, it feels lonely. That's the part most people run away from. They go back to noise, back to distractions, back to the comfort of being surrounded. But the ones who stay in solitude long enough discover something different. They discover peace. They discover clarity. They discover a kind of confidence that doesn't come from praise. It comes from knowing exactly who you are. And once you hear your own voice clearly, it becomes harder for the world to confuse you. Opinions don't shake you the same way. Pressure doesn't control you the same way. Doubt doesn't stop you the same way, because you're no longer living based on what everyone else thinks. You're living based on what you know, and there is nothing more powerful than a person who knows who they are, knows what they want, and is not afraid to stand alone to get it. Most people say they want to be strong, but very few are willing to do the things that actually build strength. Real strength is not built when life is easy, when everyone is around. When you have constant support and constant noise filling every empty moment. Real strength is built when it's just you, no distractions, no applause, no one telling you to keep going, just you and your mind facing each other without anything in between. That's why solitude is so powerful, and that's also why most people avoid it. Because when you are alone, there's nowhere to run. You can't scroll your way out of your thoughts. You can't laugh your way out of your problems. You can't hide behind conversations or busy schedules. You have to sit there and listen to everything going on inside your head. And for many people, that feels uncomfortable. Not because solitude is bad, but because they are not used to hearing the truth. When you spend time alone, you start noticing how much you depend on other people to feel okay. You notice how silence makes you restless, how boredom makes you anxious, how quickly you reach for something just to avoid being alone with your thoughts. But if you stay in that silence instead of escaping it, something begins to change. Your mind starts getting stronger. You start learning how to control your thoughts instead of letting your thoughts control you. Psychologists often talk about emotional independence, the ability to stay calm and focused without needing constant validation from others. People who develop this ability make better decisions, handle pressure better, and stay committed to their goals longer. And one of the biggest reasons is simple. They are comfortable being alone. They don't panic when there's no one around to motivate them. They don't fall apart when nobody is watching. They know how to stand on their own. Think about the moments in life that really test you. It's never when everything is going perfectly. It's when things are uncertain, when you feel lost, when you don't know if anyone understands what you're going through. In those moments, you can't rely on the crowd. You can't rely on noise. You can only rely on yourself. And if you never learned how to be alone, those moments will break you. But if you trained your mind in solitude, those moments will reveal your strength. There's a reason so many successful athletes train when nobody is there, early mornings, empty gyms, long runs with no one watching. Not because they enjoy suffering, but because they understand something most people don't. When you can push yourself without an audience, you become dangerous in the best possible way. Because your discipline no longer depends on motivation. Your effort no longer depends on praise. You move forward because you decided to, not because someone told you to. Solitude teaches you patience. It teaches you focus. It teaches you how to sit with discomfort without running away. And that ability changes everything. When life gets hard, you don't panic as quickly. When people doubt you, you don't collapse as easily. When the path gets lonely, you don't turn back just because no one is walking with you. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid being alone, not realizing that the very thing they are running from is the thing that can make them stronger than they ever imagined. Because when you learn how to stand by yourself, when you learn how to keep going without support, when you learn how to stay focused without noise, you build a kind of mental strength that no one can give you and no one can take away. There is a version of you that you talk about when you feel motivated, a stronger version, a disciplined version, a fearless version. You imagine that person when you watch something inspiring, when you promise yourself that tomorrow will be different, when you say you're ready to change, but that version of you is not created in front of people. It's not built in noise, not built in comfort, not built while everyone is watching. That version of you is built in solitude, because solitude is where the truth lives. When you are alone, there is no performance, no pretending, no need to look strong, no need to prove anything to anyone. It's just you exactly as you are. And that moment can feel heavy because you start to see the distance between who you are right now and who you know you could become. Most people run from that feeling. They distract themselves, surround themselves with noise, fill every second so they don't have to face that gap. But the people who grow, the people who transform, the people who actually become who they are meant to be, they stay in that silence long enough to learn from it. When you spend time alone, you start asking yourself questions that change your life. Am I using my time the right way? Am I living by my values or just following what's easy? Am I becoming the person I said I wanted to become, or am I just talking about it? Those questions don't come from the outside. They come from within, and you only hear them when the world gets quiet. Think about anyone who has ever achieved something meaningful. Behind the success people see, there were hours nobody saw, early mornings when no one else was awake, nights when quitting would have been easier, moments when there was no support, no applause, no guarantee that the effort would pay off. In those moments, they were alone And in that solitude, they made the decisions that shaped who they became. Solitude forces responsibility. You can't blame the crowd. You can't blame the noise. You can't say you didn't have time. When you're alone, every choice is yours. And that's powerful because it means every change is yours too. Every habit you build, every excuse you remove, every step forward you take without anyone telling you to, that's the moment you start becoming the person you were meant to be. It won't always feel good. Sometimes it will feel lonely. Sometimes it will feel like no one understands the path you're on. But that's part of the process. Not everyone is supposed to walk with you while you're becoming stronger. Some parts of growth are meant to happen in silence. And if you can learn to stay in that silence, if you can keep working when nobody is watching, if you can keep believing when nobody is clapping, you will wake up one day and realize something powerful. The person you kept imagining, the person you thought was so far away, was built in those quiet moments when you chose to be alone and kept going anyway. So what happens when you choose solitude? You hear yourself. You build strength. You become who you were meant to be. And the truth is, most people will never understand this power because they are too afraid of being alone. But if you can learn to sit in the silence, if you can learn to face yourself without running, if you can learn to grow without needing applause, then you unlock something most people never will. Because the person you become in solitude is the person who can walk into the world unshaken, unstoppable, and completely sure of who they are.